There's certain moments that just freeze you in your tracks. Not a car wreck, not a failed business, not losing $1 billion overnight. It's something much smaller. A simple sentence from someone you love, said softly, like it didn't matter, but it actually meant everything. That sentence broke something inside me I didn't even know was still tender. And today, I want to share this because what my brother told me changed how I think about success, how I see other people, how I look at myself. And I think it might change something for you too. It happened on a Tuesday evening. I remember it well, not because something big took place, but because nothing did. That's the funny part. It was one of those totally normal nights. The kind where you're sitting in a room worth millions of dollars, surrounded by gadgets most people only dream about, with screens showing rockets being put together, with engineers solving problems no one had ever solved before, and still, you feel empty inside. My brother Kimble, some of you know about him. He's not just my brother. He's one of the few people on this planet who knew me before I became Elon Musk, the CEO, before Tesla, before SpaceX, before the news stories, before all the craziness. He knew me when I was a weird, skinny kid in South Africa with huge dreams and zero social skills. The crowd. That evening, he sat down next to me. No plan, no meeting, no slideshow. He just sat. Then he picked up my phone. He was scrolling through stuff I don't even remember what. And he stopped. He found an old photo of me. Not a recent one. An old one from years ago. Before the company grew big, before the divorces, before the arguments, before the world started having an opinion on every little thing I do. He stared at that photo for a long time. Too long. The quietness made me uneasy. And I don't get uneasy easily. Then he looked up at me and said, "Hold on. Elon, do you remember this person?" I said, "Yeah, that's me, obviously." He slowly shook his head and said, "And I'll never forget this. I'm not asking if you know the face. I'm asking if you remember the person behind it." That one sentence hit me like a speeding train. In that photo, I was younger, skinnier, poorer. I was standing outside a small apartment. The kind where you count every dollar, where you eat the same meal 3 days in a row, not because you like it, but because that's all you can afford. But in that photo, I was smiling. Not a fake public relations smile, not an I just rang the stock market bell smile. A real one, the kind that lights up your eyes. The kind that happens when you're thrilled about an idea, not about a result. And Kimble looked at me, sitting in that multi-billion-dollar building, and said softly, "That guy in the photo, he built rockets to reach the stars because he thought it would make humanity better. When did you start building them just to prove people wrong?" Long silence. I had no answer. And that broke my heart. Not because he was attacking me, but because he was right. So let me ask you something. When did you start working for approval instead of a dream? When did your goal change from what can I make to what can I show others? Because there's a very sneaky, very dangerous trap that success sets for you. It doesn't come with a warning label. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly. First, someone doubts you, and you work harder, that's good. Then someone embarrasses you in public, and you work even harder, that's still okay. Then someone laughs at your dream, and something shifts inside you. You're no longer running towards something beautiful. You're running away from something painful. And here's the problem with running away from pain. You can run faster. You can run longer. You can run farther. But you never actually escape it. Because wherever you go, the pain comes with you. It sits in the boardroom. It sits at the launch site. It sits in the interview chair. It sits in a quiet, of 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. And what does it whisper? More, bigger, faster, louder, don't stop, don't slow down, don't let them win. And you listen, because the other choice, stopping thinking, feeling, feels like weakness. But I'm telling you today, that's not weakness, that's wisdom. That kid in the photo, let me tell you about him. He grew up in Pretoria, South Africa. He was bullied and bullied badly. Not the kind of bullying people shrug off. The kind where you get physically beaten. The kind where you feel like the world has decided you don't belong. He escaped into books. Not because reading was cool, trust me it wasn't, but because books were a door. And behind that door was a world where the rules made sense, where logic won, where smartness mattered. He read the encyclopedia for fun. He read science fiction and didn't see it as fake, he saw it as a blueprint. He taught himself to code at 12 years old. He sold his first software, a space-themed video game, at age 12 for $500. Not because he needed the $500, but because he needed to know he could do it. He moved to Canada with almost nothing. He shoveled grain out of grain bins in the blazing heat for $18 an hour. He cleaned boilers in a factory, he slept on couches, he survived. And through all of that, all the uncertainty, the discomfort, the poverty, he was still excited. He was excited about the future. Not just his own future, not his bank account, not his reputation, humanity's future. That was the person in the photo. And somewhere between then and now, I had started to lose him. People ask me all the time, what's your greatest asset? And I usually talk about first principles thinking, or willingness to take risks, or the ability to focus. But sitting in that room after my brother said what he said, I realized something. My greatest asset is the people who knew me before I became a headline. Because everyone else sees the version of you that you act out. Your team sees the leader, the press sees the story, the public sees the brand. But Kimble saw me. And sometimes the most valuable thing someone can give you isn't money or advice or a business deal. Sometimes the most valuable thing is a mirror, not a pretty mirror, not a filtered one, a real one. One that shows you exactly who you become and asks you quietly, lovingly, firmly, is this still who you want to be? That night, after Kimble left, I sat alone. No phone, no screens, no engineers to call, no problems to solve, just me. And I asked myself 3 questions. Question 1, why did I actually start all of this? Not the practiced answer I give in interviews. The real one, the one that was true at 17 years old when nobody was watching. The answer, because I genuinely believed and still believe that humanity's survival depends on becoming a multi-planet species, that clean energy is a must, that the future is worth fighting for. Question 2. When did changing the world turn into beating my critics? This one hurt, because I could point to the exact moment. I could point to specific failures, specific headlines, specific people who laughed. And I realized that at some point I had handed those people, those critics, those doubters, those mockers, I had handed them the steering wheel of my life. Not on purpose, but the result was the same. I was letting them decide what I did next. Question 3. If no one was watching, no press, no investors, no social media, what would I actually build? And when I answered that honestly, I felt something come back. Something I hadn't felt in years. That same spark from the photo, that excitement. That's why now I want to speak directly to you, every single person here, because I know that many of you are standing at a crossroads right now. Maybe you started something with a pure heart, a business, a relationship, a creative dream, a cause. And somewhere along the way, the world got involved. The world criticized you, compared you, measured you, ranked you, and slowly, without even noticing, you started playing their game instead of your own. And now you're winning, or close to winning, or working hard to win but winning at the wrong thing. And there's this quiet heartbreak living inside you that you can't quite name. Let me name it for you. It's the sadness of losing yourself on the way to success. And here's what I want you to hear. That heartbreak is not a curse. It is a compass. It is pointing you back to the person in the photo, back to the reason you started, back to the version of yourself that was excited before the world told you what to be excited about. Don't numb it. Don't silence it. Don't drown it away. Follow it. I made some decisions that night. I decided to stop letting my critics write my mission statement. I decided to start asking, is this meaningful? Before I ask, is this impressive? I decided to call the people who knew me before, not for advice about strategy, but just to remember who I am. I decided that being the richest man in the world means absolutely nothing if the person in the mirror doesn't recognize the boy in the photo. I decided that urgency without purpose is just panic. And most importantly, I decided to protect the original fire. That first spark, that first reason, that first dream, because without it, all the rockets in the world are just very expensive metal. If you are young, if you are just starting, I want to give you something I wish someone had given me. Guard your why, like your life depends on it. Because eventually it will. The world will come for it. People will offer you money to drop it. People will offer you fame to shrink it. People will offer you safety to delay it. Don't trade it. And when the world starts defining you by your failures, your stock price, your headlines, your mistakes, go find that old photo. Go find the version of you that existed before the world had opinions. And have an honest conversation with that person. Ask them, am I still doing this for you? Or have I forgotten you completely? Because that conversation, as painful as it might be, could be the most important one you ever have. I called Kimble the next morning. I told him what that conversation meant to me. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Good. I was worried I'd lost my brother to the legend." A pause. The legend. That's what the world builds around you when you achieve things they can't quite explain. A legend. But legends aren't people. Legends don't feel. Legends don't doubt. Legends don't get heartbroken by a photo. People do. And I decided I'd rather be a person. Flawed, searching, still growing, still remembering where I came from, than be the most successful legend who ever forgot why he started. So let me leave you with this. Somewhere in an old phone in a drawer in your memory, there is a version of you that was purely, genuinely, excitedly you before the pressure, before the performance, before the mask. Don't lose that person. Chase the future. Build the impossible. Disrupt everything that needs disrupting. But never become so successful that you forget the face in the photo. Because the day someone who loves you looks at you and asks, "Do you remember this person?" and you realize you don't, that is the most expensive thing you will ever lose. And no amount of money, no amount of success, no rocket ship can ever buy it back. Thank you.